Siege of Orgrimmar is the most difficult raid introduced to World of Warcraft, for not only the boss mechanics, but for the sheer rage-inducing trash pulls that make you want to break your keyboard in two and use your computer monitor as a frisbee. Let's begin. Shortly after you kill the fishmen and their water elemental friends, you will face the water boss. Have a warrior pull by using Heroic Leap. This boss will put pools on the ground that, while standing in them, gives your raid a buff to restart the encounter. He will also shoot water up from the floor and spray your raid with water in hopes that you may slip, fall, and crack your breastplate or tear your robe. Once you reduce the boss's health to 0, he will explode, drenching your raid and having you run around like idiots trying to dry off and catch his discolored blobs. After killing this boss about 10 times, you will have purified him and he doesn't even thank you. After going up several flights of stairs, you will reach the panda bosses. Now these bosses are exceptionally dangerous. They are severely depressed from subjecting themselves to animal cruelty. The larger boss will attempt to pummel you, while the smaller bosses you will use peer pressure to get you drunk and shout at you to try to hurt your feelings. Every so often they will call more of their panda friends so they can vent about how mean your raid group is. If you don't kill these bosses at the same time, they will refuse to die, because misery loves company. If you manage to kill the panda bosses and avoid a lawsuit from PETA, congratulations. Please skip 90% of the following trash as your reward. Spread out for zeal, so hopefully you can kill him before he one-shots everyone in your raid. Proceed to Neuroshen, the next boss that you won't even fight. He will inconvenience you by putting you in a box to face your inner demons, much like going to group therapy. Deal with your hallucinations and move on. After your therapy session with Neuroshen, die several times clearing the most annoying trash in the dungeon. If you manage to get this far, you will be greeted by the Shah of Pride. Stand in the good black shit, don't stand in the bad black shit, and if Neuroshen decides to be the least bit helpful, you can dispel your raid. If you get thrown in jail, wait for your teammates to post your bail. If you stack for self-reflection, you will be proud of yourself. An ad will spawn on the back of the room to give your DPS something to do. If you ignore all of these mechanics, not only will you be very proud of yourself, but you will be subject to genetic mutation. Once you arrive in Bladefist Bay, begin clearing the trash off the beach. The environmentalists will thank you. Then start clearing out the cannons, because they send your raid to assault the beach with full artillery array up, but not the expendable footmen. Once the beach is secured, begin the 6-hour-long fight to kill Galacrus. Instead of taking the cannon towers immediately, wait until they have a full garrison in them to make the fight more challenging. The towers themselves are the hardest part of the encounter. Reason being, you can't use the rope to climb down, so you must do a leap of faith and hope you don't shatter a femur, because you don't want to take the time to walk down the stairs. Once you use the towers to bring down Galacrus, make sure she doesn't breathe on the raid. If you want to survive, stand in the fire. If you don't want to survive, don't stand in the fire, and laugh at your raid as they burst into flames, then spend the next 6 hours re-clearing the waves of trash. If you manage to kill Galacrus, continue to the big metal scorpion boss. The most important thing to know about this boss is that occasionally bombs fall out of his ass. When they do, have a few members of your raid sit on them. This will save your raid, but the players who sit on the bombs will be loaded with shrapnel, giving them a bleed effect for the rest of their character's existence. During Phase 2, the boss will release his bowels all over the ground. It's flammable, so make sure you have your raid stand in it to gain a damage buff. He will then blow your raid back. Make sure your raid returns to their respective pile of excretion for their buff. Rinse and repeat until the boss is dead, or more than likely, you're dead. Once you defeat this Iron Menace, spend the next hour clearing trash. Keep in mind, while you're fighting the Treasurer, he will turn all your greedy, freeloading teammates hostile. G-kick them immediately. Have a raid member suicide to reset the boss. Lower your graphics settings, or be teleported to the critical error boss. Kill the dogs. The only thing you need to worry about is, well, everything. Don't stand in shit. Provided your raid members have half a brain and can avoid colorful objects, proceed to more trash. Have your ranged DPS use the melee as a meat shield to kill the demos. If you make it to Nazgrim, prepare for one of the hardest fights in the dungeon. He will throw in a war banner that is too small to grab your attention, so he will gain significant rage. Heroic Leap is nearly impossible to see, so just disregard it. Every so often, ads will spawn. Your DPS won't realize this until the second or third attempt. In defensive stance, the boss puts a debuff on the entire raid that makes them tunnel vision the boss. Because of these mechanics, you will get around 10 Ravagers per attempt. To avoid these super hard mechanics, go to Elwyn Forest and farm boars. Next you have to get through, you guessed it, more trash. Fight your way through these mind-numbing trash pulls until you've reached Malkarak. He will put a debuff on you that makes healing useless, so have all of your healers switch to a DPS spec. Throughout the fight, he will throw people into the air, slam the ground, and more or less have a tantrum. Stand in the purple shit. When he gets pissed, hug him, and tell him everything will be okay. Once he calms down, solidify your sympathies by killing him. Continue through the gauntlet of trash, unless of course you're Alliance. In that case, enjoy a free ride to the next boss because you deserve it, I guess. For this next boss, you will raid Garish's Spoils of Pandaria, which turns out to be boxes of bugs and Mogu, some treasure. Split the raid, don't stand in shit, and kill enough ads before the time runs out. After looting the spoils, enjoy a trip to the zoo, don't feed the Yeti, and proceed to clear out the animals. When fighting Thok, stack behind him because that's how you do the most damage. For Phase 2, adjust your raid to stack in front of him, so when he starts to eat your friends, he will overeat and rupture his stomach. This is the key to victory for any good raid group. Next, continue to one of the most difficult trash pulls in the raid. 3 continuous waves that are harder than half the bosses. If you somehow manage to defeat them, jump into one of the tubes and it should take you to Siegecraft or Blackfuse, unless of course you're a Tauren or a male panda. When you engage Siegecrafter, have someone work the conveyor, but only pay them pennies on the dollar. Don't stand in anything, or you'll be screwed. If your DPS can turn and burn ads, there's hope for your group to finish this raid yet. Squish a few bugs and you will be at the Paragons. The only correct way to win this fight, equip your fly swatters and use your bug spray potions. It's that simple, really. Once you've cleared out the bug infestation, swap all of your DPS that can't CC for DPS that can, so you can actually clear the following trash. When you begin fighting Garish, don't worry about the Iron Stars, they will damage him. As you fight his ads, kill the Farseers last because all they do is cast a useless healing spell. When your group is teleported into heart phases, take your time, it's not a race. Be sure to stand around the desecrated weapon to allow more competition on the healing charts. Disregard any mind controls, as it allows players to use the restroom while their characters continue to fight for them. If your group has executed this fight correctly, you will have stopped this tyrant. This concludes my guide to the Siege of Orgrimmar. Hopefully this will help you progress through this obnoxious raid. Comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, or you'd like to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.